Welcome to the podcast for Healing Neurology, where we talk about everything that can help heal your neurology, which is really everything from food, lifestyle, and medicine to nature, culture, and politics. There's no topic too big or too small. I'm Jillian Ehrlich, family nurse practitioner, certified in Ayurveda and functional medicine. And today we have a lovely, lovely guest. Dr. Anup Mulakaluri's inspiration to be in the medical field began at an early age. His uncle was a pediatrician and responsible for Dr. Mulakaluri's well-being since he was born very sick and struggled with health in the early part of his life. Growing up in India, he was also immersed in the culture of Ayurveda and spirituality, but initially sought our conventional medicine for his own training. In 2007, he completed his undergraduate degree in molecular and cellular biology on a pre-medicine track from the University of California, Santa Barbara. After seeing the power of Ayurveda to heal illness within his own family, he took his first step in postgraduate education by becoming certified as an Ayurvedic wellness counselor from Kerala Ayurveda Academy in Fremont, California. Following AWC certification, Dr. Mulakaluri completed his studies in naturopathic medicine at Bastyr University. In pursuit of experiencing true holistic medicine, he gained certifications in mindfulness, meditation, shamanism, and qigong. Ultimately, Dr. Mulakaluri returned to his roots. Ayurveda truly provides the widest range of tools to tend to physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual care of individuals. He applies Ayurveda as primary care medicine, a counseling therapy, and as a spiritual foundation in his medical practice, Natural Rhythms, in Seattle, Washington. And you can find out more about his practice at ayurvedicseattle.com. Dr. Mulakaluri, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
And I believe we should start, as you had suggested, which I love, with about a 3-minute meditation.
This meditation is a combination of a qigong meditation and kind of working with the chakras a little bit. It is a empowerment meditation. It's adapted from an activation practice from the qigong, and it's a very simple practice. It can be done seated or standing. And what we do is we'll activate the third eye, the heart, and support all of that with the bladder channel or the root chakra. So closing your eyes, and to start, just take a few deep breaths, noticing your lungs expanding, your diaphragm contracting, and then exhaling, letting the air out slowly. And repeat, so you can smooth out the breath flow, so you can warm up your breathing apparatus. After taking 2 or 3 breaths this way, we will move into our practice. As I described, it has 3 steps, and in each steps we will be taking 6 breaths. I encourage you to follow your own rhythm in your own flow, moving through the steps, paying attention to the energy, movement, as you move your attention between points. To start, sitting upright, spine straight, but soft, and your palms facing up towards the sky. Your palms can rest on your thighs or can be held up around your midsection. As you breathe in, your attention goes to the third eye. As you breathe out, your attention goes to the palms. Breathing in to the third eye, out to the palms. Continue for 4 more breaths, taking slow, deep, and steady breaths into the third eye, out to the palms. With the next movement, bring your palms together in the Namaste posture in front of your heart. Now, as you breathe in, your attention goes to your heart. And as you breathe out, attention to the palms. In to the heart and out to the palms. Repeating this 4 more times at your own pace. Now turning the palms up, holding them in a cup shape. Right palm resting in the left palm. Place them in front of your lower abdomen, just below the belly button. As you hold your palms here, breathe into the pelvic bowl and breathe out down to your feet. Into the pelvic bowl and out down to your feet. Repeating this 4 more times at your own pace. One more breath. And then bring the palms out over your head. And then drawing them down as you exhale, letting all that energy settle into the body and allowing yourself to arrive at your center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
What a good way to center and start a show.
Thank you. Yeah, the good morning practice. Because we were going to talk about neurology, I felt really compelled to start and end with a meditation. And that as a reminder that we're always talking about the field of action when we talk about the neurology. And, what is really ourselves and the mind is so much greater. And to bringing all of ourselves to all of the experiences is really what Ayurvedic neurology is all about. To be able to create that, facilitate that for a person to experience all of themselves at all the times as best as possible. If possible, pain-free, if possible, having all of their capacities available at their will.
Excellent. So this is really at the heart of Ayurveda as a medical system, which is that the point of medicine, the point of life, is to be here and to experience as completely as possible this one special life that we have, that we know of, that we have conscious memory of.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ayurveda a little more broadly. We've talked about it on the show in the past, but for listeners that are new to Ayurveda, can you describe kind of what is Ayurveda and talk to us a little bit about the dosha system?
Okay. What is Ayurveda? So I think this will change person to person. For me, Ayurveda is a multidimensional healing system, in that it is a way of life, which is what Ayurveda means. It's a science of life. It is a spiritual practice, and it is a functional medicine. And as a functional medicine, it really looks at understanding the functionality of a person and their constitution, not just general physiology, but like the individual physiology and the individual composition. And that individual composition is what Ayurveda is always trying to address. How can this person function optimally? Which brings us to the idea of doshas. The doshas are physiological kind of constitution, you can say. And they're based in the 5 basic elements. The 5 basic elements being space, air, fire, water, and earth. These are what is called the Mahabhutas, or the universal elements. And people who are new, to Ayurveda, I would like them to know that this is not like a physical elements we're talking about here. We're talking about symbolic functions that are observable in the universe. And so observable in terms of their space in the universe, and that there is movement in the universe, which is associated with air, that there is a chemical reaction and endothermic, exothermic movement that is happening all the time, which is the fire element, that there is water in the universe, not just the water we drink, but also the capacity for things to come together, or capacity for things to attach to each other and push away from each other. That is kind of the attractive and the repulsive forces. And then there is also the earth element, which is the physical aspect of the universe. So these observable elements are what also forms us, as we are part and product of the universe. The language of the doshas then is more designed to simplify these elements in action within our body. The three doshas are the combination of elements. So, for example, space and air work as a unit called vata. Fire and water work as a unit called pitta, and water and earth work as a unit called kapha. And this language of the dosha helps us to understand kind of the elemental composition of a person and the effects of those elements within them. From that, and being that we live in a relative universe, that we can see how this person relates with themselves, how this person relate is in relation to their environment, and also it helps us to really see how they fit in or might feel averse to, might be benefited from, or might be affected by negatively by the elements in their environment or in their life or their food or their whatever you take. The result of this language of doshas, which is a pretty unique part of Ayurveda, is that we have a way to assess the physical and physiological and psychological health of the individual, as well as we can look at what is required to balance and heal that individual in the same language. So, it's not like we say, oh, my muscles are tight and you need magnesium. It's more like, oh, my muscles are tight, so I feel this tightness, I feel this contraction. Oh, you need something that loosens it, something that helps to stretch it and soften it. And so what will bring those qualities is falling under that same, is actually having those qualities. A good example is, a lot of us here in the Northwest wake up feeling heavy, sluggish, lethargic, cold in our body through most of the year when the sun is not out. And when this is happening, the heaviness, the sluggishness, the lethargy, the coldness is associated with the kapha quality. And so we can give the opposing quality, something that is stimulating, something that is warming to the energy system, like breath work or exercise in the morning, will help to balance that kapha. That'll get you going, get you woken up. Or if you, you might consider eating lighter foods, like foods with the tastes of sour, pungent, bitter, salty, will help to kind of, these are mostly like a variety of colorful fruits, variety of vegetables, green vegetables, especially leafy things. This will help to balance the heavy quality in the body and make the system more efficient. And then there you can also really support yourself by the way you engage in your day-to-day life, by bringing more of that stimulating quality in terms of how you plan your day. Oh, I want to do something that is enjoyable, exciting at the first part of my day, that kind of inspires me. Listen to some talk or listen to some music or dance around, something like that. And what you're doing is you're taking this heavy, sluggish, lethargic quality and you're doing things, eating things, doing practices that give the opposing quality, and naturally has a balancing effect on the physiology. The result being that your overall health and physiology gets balanced by that. And that's how simple Ayurveda is in terms of your day-to-day life, and can really help to make important observations about yourself and make important decisions about yourself in terms of maintaining health and living optimally as much as possible.
If we are all experiencing, this kind of kapha environment, does that mean the same treatments are appropriate for all of us? I mean, I know the answer to this one, but I'm...
Yeah, well, no, not exactly, right? And so how that works is, as you start observing yourself, especially from the perspective of Ayurveda, you likely find some patterns. And these patterns will either inform you about your constitution, or they will inform you about predominant imbalance in the body. If we are generally feeling heavy, sluggish, and that sluggishness doesn't fade within the first hour just naturally, more likely you're more kapha aggravated and you need to make some extra effort. But most of us do feel a little kapha aggravation here because of the atmospheric pressure and the gray weather and the low vitamin D. And so most of us can benefit from at least a light intervention. Say that is like, I tell a lot of my patients, they have such a hard time getting out of bed. Just turn on your back and do deep breathing. Just do a little ujjayi type breathing. You go and move your core and kind of move the energy, get some extra oxygen in there, and notice in 30 seconds you wake up. Now, most people with the pitta or vata constitution will find that stimulating enough that they get to feel lighter, they can move on. But the kapha individual, that will just get them started to get up upright, and then they might need to do a little bit of bastrika, or they might need to kind of do a little bit of like wiggling their toes and doing some this is a really fun one where you take a deep breath and you go and you pull your arms down as you breathe out, and so you push your arms up, and you're kind of like really creating the force and bringing the energy from your core, and it stimulates the lower chakras to wake up. It drives the solar plexus to kind of heat up, and naturally brings blood flow to the extremities, and so the brain also get extra blood flow. So you can apply it based on your constitution. The main thing is you start to observe yourself, and then you start to observe the patterns, and you start to notice, oh, I just need 10 breaths and I can get going, or oh, I am the one who needs 10 breaths to just get out of bed, and then I need a little bit of exercise to wake up my brain, and things like that. And then if the kapha is stuck in the body, right, it's like you've gained weight in the pandemic, and that has made you more tired and lethargic and things like that. Then you might consider bringing more of the dietary component into it, or you might consider doing things that are, keep on extending to meet your need based on what is the imbalance you're finding.
And I think when people initially learn about Ayurveda, they learn that vata pitta kapha paradigm. And they learn that, at the moment of our conception, that we have a constitution, a unique constitution in all time and space that is somewhat set, and that it can be solidified with our first breath, and that, our personal constitution will rarely change. But what you're saying is so magnificent, because it's less about your prakruti or your inborn constitution that you want to pay attention to, rather than what's currently going on in your body right now. Even if you have more pitta from your basic constitution, if it's the cold kapha rainy season, then you don't necessarily treat yourself as if you're trying to quell your pitta, which is your constitution. You're always working with what you are experiencing in the world around you, correct?
Yes, very, very nicely put. Basically I tell my patients, like, you're not a rock. Even a rock changes day to day, right? And so what is important is to really get good at understanding the qualities of your being, and the qualities that promote good well-being, qualities that reduce well-being, and qualities that encourage, qualities that discourage health. And you will become your own doctor, and you will really treat yourself like the dynamic living system you are. And the patterns, what I'm talking about, you're a pitta person, you will have more pitta like patterns, but you are susceptible as much as anybody else to have kapha and vata imbalance. And so that's why looking at ourselves as a dynamic system, a natural dynamic system, is much more important.
Let's shift a little bit and talk about what happens with Ayurveda and neurology. Let's start talking a little bit about some of the perspectives of some of the more classically recognized Western neurological diseases. How do we think about the nervous system and neurology from the Ayurvedic perspective?
Okay. So like mentioned in the beginning, the nervous system is more of what the mind acts on and what consciousness can act on, and it can use the nervous system as the point at which decisions are made or choices are made, or point at which information is received and then processed, and then actions are taken and guided from. And so, in terms of Ayurvedic neurology, if we look at the classical text like Vagbhat and Charak, and you'll see that there is discussion about the soul, and there's discussion about consciousness, and there's discussion about mind, which is separate from neurology. And the separate is done because it's reminding the physician to, like, when person is struggling with neurology, you need to focus on neurology, not talk too much psychology to them, and heal that. But the physician should always pay attention to the consciousness and what experience the person is having, and be able to support them through that experience, whether they need to experience more resilience, or whether they need to experience more patience, or experience more effort and will, and being able to support them in those ways, so that they can be basically a good self-healer, why and be a good ally in applying all of the neurological interventions that we will be discussing. And so psychology is part of neurology care, but it is not necessarily like what we discuss with the patients unless it's absolutely necessary. We're always thinking of it in the background. So the soul, the spirit of the person, and how to support that spiritual journey through this healing process is always what our consideration is. And for them, and you'll see your patients, they are focused on the symptom, they're focused on the discomfort, they're focused on the pain. And Ayurveda is very practical. Let's get to heal that as efficiently as possible. So that's kind of the basic background. And then treatment always comes in from looking at, when a person comes in, looking at their whole system, looking at what is the weakened system, and understanding the weakened system, understanding the tissue that has been injured. In neurological conditions, mostly the nervous system or the neuromuscular junction or something related to the nerves is injured. But that injury doesn't necessarily start always at the nervous system. And so we'll look at kind of the Ayurvedic physiology, and that starts with the dosha imbalances, looking at where the original site of the dosha is. With the nervous system, for example, always vata is involved, because the nervous system is a seat of vata. From that perspective, look at, okay, is vata primarily affected, and then is it purely neurological vata? But the other seat of vata is also the colon. So is the vata affected in the colon, and is the gut nervous system somehow starting to affect the central nervous system? So for example, if a person has had inflammation all their life in the gut and has indigestion, or has had constipation all of their life, and this is why they have toxicity, they can develop toxicity at other seats of vata. And that can result in problems. Often you'll find constipation associated with autoimmunity. Well, that autoimmunity can go anywhere. And in a more vata person, that is more likely to go to the nervous system, because that's the predominant dosha that is affecting. So we look at the whole person and look at the dosha, look at the dhatus or the tissues that have been affected by that dosha. And then we approach the treatment from the root cause, while also palliating the disease itself, because we want to give hope and encouragement and engender patience in the patient. So we do palliative care while keeping always the eye on the root cause and treating the root cause. So that's the basic thought process
in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go more into it if you want.
I know and I'm already looking at our time, because we're going to very quickly get to the end here. And I'm thinking that we will probably have to have you back and do some sort of series, because You unfold Ayurveda so beautifully, and it's really a treat to see. And I think so many patients have benefited from Ayurvedic treatments and perspective, and so many more can. And our audience, our population really is a lot of complex and chronically ill patients who have not actually tried Ayurvedic therapies. And so this is a place that there's a lot of room for growth for our patients. Right. So, but let's talk today. So let's keep going. Let's keep rolling with Ayurveda and the nervous system specifically. Sure. Talk about some of the diseases, understanding them, treating them, thinking about them.
Absolutely. So, neurological diseases in general fall under the idea of vata vyadhi, which is the vata diseases. And in Charak Samhita, when it comes to neurological and or vata diseases, there are some general treatments that are given. And because the vata has the qualities of excess mobility rather, dryness, lightness, roughness, and also instability, we try to engender more lubrication, softness, smoothness, stabilizing, nourishing, heaviness, and warmth quality through our treatments. And so, as my mentor says, they in the old days, they never hold back. If you need brain, they will give you brain. They will massage you with brain. Literally like that. And so the first line of a general treatment of neurological disease, it tells to lubricate the system in every way possible. It says, take the ghee, take the oil, take the muscle fat, take the marrow, and there is actually an oil, that is called a Mahasneha oil, that is combining all of these fours along with the, even the black gram lentil oil, and is used in very severe neurological diseases. So number one is oleation. In terms of the treatment, so you eat the ghee, you apply the ghee on your body, you do enemas with the oils, and you do Shirodhara treatments over the head. You do Shirobasti, which is like a cap you put over the head with the oil on it. You put Katibasti on the low back. And then all the treatments that are given that are warming treatments, for example, steam, dry bolus therapy, herbal bolus therapy, rice bolus therapy, poultices, are all punctuated by application of oils, application of fats. And so my patients laugh at me and laugh at Ayurveda when they come in and they leave greasy. They always when they come in for the therapies, but once you've felt it go on your body and actually go in your body, and you feel the system and the nervous system respond to it and stabilize, then you don't question so much. You're like, oh, bring it on. The unique part about taking so much of the oil is lipophilic, and it can pass across the blood-brain barrier. And so we can really use medicated oils to reach to the nervous system like nothing else. So that we can make teas or brew this or ferment that. We can't really reach the nervous system in the way that oils can. Then again, I'm just staying general right now with the general therapies. I'll get into individual things in a moment. I mentioned about enemas and different ways. There is also nasya that is applied into the nose, that goes to the olfactory opening and has a capacity to stimulate the frontal lobe. That is also called what is called a shirovirechana. And the virechana means is a practice of purgation, which helps to drive out excess doshas in a particular region. And so most of the time we think of purgation in the gut, and that is done too with another type of oil. But the Shirovirechana is really powerful when there is buildup in the nervous system, like in Parkinson's. There is the buildup of plaque and proteins. MS, there's there's toxicity build up in the nervous system, and plaque built up around the nerves and things like that. And that Shirovirechana can be very helpful, or the Nasya can be very helpful. So that's general approach, of course, diets also will bring in meat soups, and a lot of people think Ayurveda is a vegetarian. It's not. Every other vata chapter you will find take this meat and take that goat and take this. Eating marshy animals is described as important. Here in the Northwest, we're very lucky. We have nice cold water fatty fish we get in fresh, good quality, really good for nervous system. And so that is also described in the Charaka Samhita as one of the general treatment approaches for the nervous system. And then we warm the food. We have to spice it nicely. So herbs like tikatu, ginger, black pepper, long pepper is the one of the main ones that is described by Charaka. But then there is specific nervous system focused herbs also that can be used and added, like bala, ashwagandha, etc. So that's general approach, and I can go into. So I've prepared some protocol study that have been studied in research for Parkinson's, etc. So if you'd like, I can get into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
Okay. The first one is a case study. The case study is for a patient with with Parkinson's, having a 67-year-old patient, and I can provide references if you need to, all these for your podcast notes. And they had, of course, moderate to mild, and Indian research is a little bit hard to interpret sometimes, but what they described would, in my experience, be like a moderate to low level symptoms of Parkinson's. And this person was not on levodopa, and they have tremors, rigidity, grade 2, grade 3 kind of fatigue, insomnia, and they were treated for 60 days. Out of this, they started with, again, this is not specifically described, but the treatments they gave generally are offered in 7 to 10 day protocols. They were given oil massage. They were given this nasya, which is the Shirovirechana, and then they were given matra basti, which is the small volume enema, oil enema. Were given for a certain amount of time that is not mentioned in the study there, but usually 7 to 10 days. When it's done continuously, along with the nasya and the abhyanga, generally Charaka describes to always give some heat. So some steam is applied with the abhyanga. There is a whole body steam applied. With the nasya, there is a local steam applied, and then finish with the basti treatment. And then after that, they were given a couple of formulas. One is what is considered like an anti-constipating formula, but what is in Ayurvedic terms the vata anuloman. It makes sure the vata is flowing in the right direction. And then a kapikachu based formula, which is a kapikachu is a Mucuna pruriens, which has a levodopa, or sorry, L-dopa, and not levodopa, L-dopa in coming naturally. And so these herbs were given after the first set of treatments for total of 60 days. And this particular case study showed a complete remission for this patient.
Wow.
In 60 days of this treatment, and pretty amazing results, which is why I think was probably a moderate to low, severity in the early stage in the Parkinson's. The second study in Parkinson's is a more open clinical study, and having 15 patients in each group, one with taking levodopa, the other without. Both were given same Panchakarma protocol. In this, the Panchakarma protocol was given with a single oil called Shirbala oil, which is the bala herb I mentioned earlier, and it's combined with the oil and milk decoction. And this was given in two ways of administration. One was 15 days of nasya, which is Shirovirechana, and the Shirobasti, which is you put a hat or you design a hat over the head, and you store about a liter or so of oil overhead. And which is very interesting, kind of how warmth and weight and density of oil is used to drive the medicine into the nervous system, which we can take up another time.
It always the Shirabasti hats always look like a chef's hat to me. So
yeah, chef's hat.
Like what sort of hat would hold oil? I always think of like a chef's hat, and then it just can be poured inside.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be poured inside. And in this study, the patients taking the levodopa, very interesting, were having 30 to 60% improvement in all the various symptoms. In just this, after 15 days of treatment, there was no internal medicine given here. And they were tested on day 45. So just treatments. And then the patients without having levodopa had an average 40 to 70% improvement in all the symptoms. And there is an interesting argument that they brought forward that are we taking these early stage patients and giving them levodopa too early to make their system dependent on an exogenous source of dopamine rather than stimulating their own? So interesting question asked there. Then going into MS, which is a very interesting, another very interesting, and complicated disease. This is involving autoimmunity also. So this is a case about a primary progressive MS. And this person has various symptoms when they have so no mobility below the hips at this stage. So pretty severe, progression. They have very little bowel control and bladder control. They're coming in with difficulty kind of having even the ability to sit up without assistance, let alone moving, getting up and walking, things like that. So because this person is in such severely debilitated state, Panchakarma is not an option right away because it takes a lot of effort for the body to go through Panchakarma. So treated with internal medicine, they were given Mahayogaraj Gugul. Mahayogaraj Gugul is more concentrated than the regular Yogaraj Gugul, has a deeper penetration. And the effect of a Gugul resin is I think of it like a magnet that pulls out toxins. Okay. And the Yogaraj has a warming herbs in it, like Trikatu, etc. And so Mahayogaraj Gugulu is specifically meant to go after kapha and stuck toxins and to pull them out. And then they were also given Chandraprabhavati, which is a kapha balancing kidney-based formula to help to support the elimination of those toxins through the water channel. So this patient, even though they're not mentioned too much, is clearly a kapha patient and is being treated with kapha-like herbs, but having a vata disorder. So that's how we can adopt. And then for the vata was given ashwagandha and shatavari root infused in milk twice a day. And ashwagandha arishtam, which is having bala, ashwagandha, shatavari, etc. herbs that was given. After about 10 weeks of this treatment, this patient became strong enough, started to have a little bit more tone and motility. So first 2 weeks, there's mild improvement in stiffness, mild improvement in the whole body burning sensation. And there was like flickering of movement, like they're able to kind of flicker their toes and things like that. In the 10 weeks of treatment with just the internal medicine, the patient is arriving to having very mild pain and stiffness, little to no burning sensation, that they're able to move with assistance. So if we take away gravity, they can move, and so you can help them kind of get up and then by 15 weeks, so now the Panchakarma came in because the patient got strong enough and they were given Abhyanga massage. Yeah.
Can you explain Panchakarma? People may not know.
Okay, Panchakarma. All
in
right.
brief, I mean,
brief.
A tiny peanut shell.
Sounds good. So Panchakarma is what is generally known as a detoxification therapy involving 5 channels of elimination. In US, we can use about 4 of those channels, and the 4th one, which is the Vamana, we actually have to adapt and do fasting. But basically, what we're doing is we're helping to channelize and drive aggravated doshas out of the body in order to correct the physiology of the system that has been affected by that aggravated dosha. This Panchakarma, therefore, is the beginning of the healing process where the system can be reset to as healthy as physiology as possible and is allowed the opportunity to rebuild with a healthier foundation. So that's in a nutshell is a Panchakarma. With this patient with the MS, they did a Panchakarma. So this is also a unique therapy. So Abhyanga was done with his massage with the oil. The sweat that was given was a rice bolus, this 60-day grown rice, that is a Shastikasali Pinda Sweda, that is mixed with a milk decoction of bala herb, and that is rubbed onto the body in a vata anuloma, so to kind of downward force to balance the vata. And so they also, like with the general therapies, got massage and oil, and they got the sweat in this particular format. That was done for about 10 days, following which they were started to give a matra basti, which is a 25 milliliter oil enema, which is a locally nourishing to the pelvic bowl and the nervous system down below. And then they were given a yapana basti for 17 more days. So they were able to now hold enough oil to take about 150. So not only all these other things improved, but their ability for bowel control also improved over the course of the treatment.
Mm.
Finally, at 15 weeks, movement is up to grade 3. They were able to sit up, get up, move with crutches up to 30 yards without stopping. No burning or pain sensation was noted in this person. So that's general approaches in Ayurveda, and always we fall back in the Vata Vyadhi on the Saman Chikitsa. So Charak says, use these basic things, principles, apply the oils, apply the warmth, you give these nourishing herbs, give these nourishing foods, and then based on the person in front of me, I'm able to then puzzle out what is specifically the oil application on the body, in the body, what to eat, what to eliminate, all those things, and we treat by one. Yeah, so I can go into more, but I will pause there. I have about 6 more studies and cases.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about, why do these treatments work for why does Ayurveda work for neurological conditions?
Wow. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to answer that question. Ayurveda to me is more a mystery than what I know, because I still feel there's a lot to learn. But I can tell you, based on my science background, when I told you about the lipophilic nature of these medicines, right? And so crossing the blood-brain barrier is a big plus for us. Then we see the herbal interaction, right? So plants have a biology like we have a biology. And so when you take whole herbs to infuse into these oils and into these decoctions and things like that, what you're doing is you're extracting plant biology and then exposing it to our internal biology. And so you're getting compounds that provide signals, not very strong signals because they're not our endogenous compounds, but provide signal in a particular direction. And so you get effects like lowering your cortisol level, improving your dopamine production, stabilizing your epinephrine, norepinephrine, or improving kind of like for the Shirovirechana, causing kind of drainage, out of the lymphatic system and out of the nervous system. And these unique actions that are not really considered in a lot of the conventional medicine, but also the thought process that went into utilizing these herbs and oils to access these really deep tissues is not really done also in any other practice, conventional practice. At least there are indigenous medicines that are also other indigenous medicine that are also powerful like this. And so that's really for me why Ayurveda works. They're very, very creative in how the herbs are applied, how the medicines are applied. Like I was mentioning, there is a reason why Shirobasti is done this specific way to put a liter of oil on your head, right? You're using not only just the oil and the herbs in it, you're using the warmth of the oil, the weight of the oil, the viscosity and the density of the oil, which creates oncotic pressure, all those to drive the oil into the scalp and into the skull and into the past the dura mater, into the brain, and to create an effect. And then biology talking to biology, herbal biology talking to our biology, and you make the right match for the right person, and that person's biology and natural intelligence of the body will say, oh, that is a better activity for me. We are evolved in a way that we can really correct almost any imbalance. We didn't evolve with hospitals and pharmaceuticals, and so body had to, for survival, be able to correct almost any imbalance in there. And so if we can match that imbalance with the correct signaling, body can take that direction and go as far as possible to make the physiological correction, and that's healing. So that's why I think for me Ayurveda works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of faith.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
lot of faith.
And a lot of faith. It's so interesting. I mean, I have seen it time and time and time again. I think it was, maybe 15, 18 years ago, we had a patient with MS who got up off the massage table, off the Panchakarma table, and says, "This is the first time in 20 years I haven't had any pain." It is remarkable. That was an amazing description that you gave of it being the biology of molecules talking to other biological molecules.
Mhm.
And I absolutely agree that safety and cocoon of that exists in the Ayurvedic treatment room is why there can be so much change. If we are too anxious about any change in the physiology, then our patterns will hold on. They'll try to stay static to stay safe. And sometimes the body can mistake familiar with safe. We do this all the time with the foods we eat, the relationships we keep, the places that we go. We mistake familiar for safe. And I think the physiology does that too. So if you create a situation like in Panchakarma, in a process like that, where the body can be kept safe, then much deeper change can happen.
Yeah, very nice. That's exactly true.
And so what would you like listeners to know about if they have any of these conditions, any of these neurological conditions that we've talked about, or even spasticity, neuromuscular conditions, autoimmune conditions, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, tremors, even, things like Tourette's, or even bipolar, anxiety, depression. How do you go about seeking Ayurvedic care? What does that look like?
How do you go about? So, I mean, wherever you are, you can definitely read about Ayurveda and start to incorporate some of the dietary, things that are available just generally on the internet. And I would encourage to find specific good resources. One of the resources that I tell my patients to look up Ayurveda, Ayurvedic concepts, Ayurvedic diet, things like that, is called Ayurmed Info, AYURMEDINFO.com, which is kind of, for me, you could think of it like a Wikipedia of Ayurveda, which is produced by a doctor who is very, very much a big student of Ayurveda and very much interested in, democratizing as much Ayurveda as possible. But then I would say seek a trusted practitioner. Sometimes you can find people online, but there is no substitute if you are able to see someone in person, being able to examine them, look at their tongue, feel their pulse. I treat people all over the US and sometimes outside, and I'll have them send me pictures if they cannot be here. And but seek a practitioner who you feel comfortable and confident with, and interview people. Like the practitioner is going to work for you. You're going to entrust your body to them and call them and interview people, because there's a lot of people who say Ayurveda, but they mean, not quite Ayurveda as I've described here. So I cannot tell that everybody you'll get the same standard. So interview people, ask them, hey, can I talk for 10 minutes? My condition, tell me your approach, see if that resonates with you. Because really, you are ultimately on your heart journey, your soul journey, and you have to follow your intuition to the best of your capacity. And vetting the work that you're taking on is as important as starting the work. And so knowing what you're starting and being excited about it is a good sign of feeling like you're on the right path before you start.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. This is a great start. We've talked about Ayurveda in the past on the show, but I loved how you started this by saying, if every person will define Ayurveda differently and somewhat uniquely, because it really is a living science. And so what's amazing about practitioners, even two practitioners may give you different assessment and different treatments, and both might be effective. This is not treating the disease. This is really treating the person.
Right.
And so I love asking all of our Ayurvedic guests, what is Ayurveda? Because I think by learning all these different definitions and descriptions, then we can really understand for ourselves how it is to have a living, breathing, healing science of medicine in the world.
Yes. Just like us.
That's what we do. That's what we love.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today. Let's return to our meditation.
Okay.
If you'd be so kind as to lead that again, and then we'll close after that.
Okay. This meditation is a little grounding meditation. And I find it really helpful to, one is turn my mind inward, and then second is to really create more internal spaciousness and safety and stability within myself. In this practice, what I'm inviting you to do is, again, sit up straight, spine upright, but not rigid. And as you breathe in from the crown down to your sacrum. Hold for a moment and exhale down to your feet. And continue repeating this for 12 breaths. Here, the important part is when we hold between the inhalation and the exhalation, that you really take a moment to arrive and become present with that pause. And pause for as long as it is comfortable before exhaling down to your feet. And so take this breath and do it at your own pace. Follow your own rhythm. Breathing in, crown to the root. Pause for as long as it is comfortable, for as long as it takes for you to arrive. And then exhale down to your feet. And continue for 11 more breaths. 3 more breaths. Breathing in, crown to the root. Pause and exhale down to your feet. Notice just these 12 breaths, how they feel expansive like the ocean, and how they create more spaciousness in this time and space. Practice to help yourself carry your presence in this spacious and peaceful way. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. That is what to take into the day, my friends. So thank you for listening today with Dr. Mulakaluri. We've got lots of ways to continue this conversation through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can reach him at his clinic, ayurvedicseattle.com. Remember to find out more about upcoming books, workshops, classes at our website, centerforhealingneurology.com. And we love that you've joined us today to discuss how to make our whole world medicine. We rise or fall together, and we are committed to doing what we can to make as many of us as healthy as possible. And this takes all of us, including you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Partyfish Media. Partyfish Media acknowledges that it operates and records on indigenous Duwamish and Puget Sound Coast Salish land that is still home to the Duwamish tribe. This land is stolen in violation of the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. We are committed to uplifting the name of these lands and community members from these nations who reside alongside us. For more information on this land, its people, or ways you can help, visit duwamishtribe.org or realrentduwamish.org.